Hello. We're going to walk through the Luther onboarding process, and there are 4 steps. So first, you select your systems and your connector settings. Second, you provide a description of your business process. Third, you'll set up your infrastructure. And finally, we'll configure your integrated development environment, so you can get going developing your application or your product code right away. We'll deploy into the cloud for you, but there's also a self-hosted option here, and that is available to meet your unique requirements. For this onboarding, we're going to create a simple payment process, and it's going to involve an invoicing step. We've already added Invoice Ninja. So let's add Stripe as the payment system. So I'll search for Stripe. We'll give the connection a name, and this is what shows up on the canvas. So let's say payment. I'll add my Stripe secret key, test the connection, and click Save. Now let's add a Postgres database to record the payment. So I'm going to search for Postgres. We'll give it a name, Save Payment. A host. Now let's test this connection. And click Save. Finally, let's add an email connector so that we can send an email to the user. So we've now added all of the systems in our process. You can click on the examples down here to see other use cases built on the Luther platform. To get an idea of how you might combine different types of systems and connectors, let's look at the lease contract renewal process. Here, we have 10 software systems and 40,000 lines of code. Next, we describe the process steps. And this is an optional step, and it's like describing the process to a colleague. So step 1 might be the invoicing team generates and sends invoice based on users' monthly usage. Okay, so I've added all of the steps. I'm going to confirm them. And we arrive on the platform setup page. So Gopher is suggesting that we click on a node to configure the platform. There are 4 steps to configure that you can see here on the left. So there's cloud, virtual machines, resource management, and distributed systems. First, we'll set up the cloud. Here, I'm going to select the region. I'll set the domain name, which is used to host the application API. I'll check the domain availability. We arrive at the virtual machines, and this is the number of servers, cores per server, and the storage size of the disks on each of these servers. Now we're configuring the resource management, so this includes setting up Kubernetes, and we've arrived at the distributed systems config. At this stage, Luther configures and deploys your Kubernetes cluster, and now Gopher is telling us that we've configured all of the platform settings, and we'll zoom back out from the nodes onto the main canvas. Gopher is suggesting that we set up the dev environment. So on this page, we see that Luther will deploy a runtime for the application automatically. Next, we arrive on the GitHub configuration page. So in addition to the runtime, we'll set up a GitHub repository for you to put your code in. And that includes a development environment that's already pre-configured for your preferred IDE, like Cursor or Codespaces, so you can focus on developing your application and your product code. I'm going to enter my GitHub username. And this is so that I get added to the GitHub repo. And Luther will then deploy the whole configuration so far to the cloud environment. Here, we've summarized all of your selections and configurations so far, including the systems, the connectors, the platform configurations, and the developer environment settings for you to review and finalize. The final step here is to select our preferred development environment. So we have Cursor, we have Codespaces, and we have GitHub as well. I'm going to select Cursor. So we've just created a brand new GitHub repository for you, and your sandbox application is ready inside. I've already cloned it and opened it in my Cursor environment, so let me walk you through a few key features of this setup. The README includes detailed step-by-step instructions on the tools you'll need to get started, including how to install them, as well as the commands required to build and run your application. We've also added a simple sandbox application. It's a mini insurance claim system where you can collect and review claim details, then finish things up with an invoice and a payment. We also have instructions for running tests and helpful tips for using them to debug. Cursor has seen us develop many applications and products, so it can help provide helpful development and application suggestions. Here, I've asked it to tell me about the sandbox project and how I can modify my claims flow. All in all, Cursor is incredibly helpful when it comes to developing understanding, as well as speeding up the development lifecycle. One feature I find especially useful is our application tracing setup. There's also a GitHub action that will deploy your app straight to the cloud infrastructure we just set up. So head over to the README and check out the guides and the docs. Go to our Discord and share your progress and your questions and connect with the Luther developer community. Welcome to Luther. We can't wait to see what you build, and we look forward to hearing from you.